I don't think we've seen it on camera at all this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. And over on the other side, we have Jared Chapman. He's going to be over on our right, and I'm interested to see some of his accomplishments as well.
Yeah, let's take a look at that pro player profile. Jared Chapman from the United States. He has a top 32 at a regional championship this year and has won 2 League Cups. So not quite the same accomplishments as Regan, a much newer player, less experienced, but he is here in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, that's so impressive that he was able to get here. And it just goes to show that if you put in the time with your deck and keep training the way that you do, then you can get yourself all the way here to the finals.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit about his deck, speaking of it. We've seen it on camera a few times today, but didn't have a huge presence in the Masters division.
Yeah, Jared is going to be playing this Greninja Break deck. It's a very interesting deck because it only plays 7 basic Pokemon, in that Talonflame is a starter Pokemon too. The 3 Froakies that he plays in his deck, usually you're used to seeing 4 if they're going to go all in on a Stage 2 Pokemon like that, or trying to get a Break Pokemon out like that. But he focuses on trying to get this Talonflame so that he can start with a lot of hit points and a very fantastic attack to start the game too.
Yeah, so now the players have their headsets on and we have looked at their decks. Tell us a little bit about how you expect this matchup to go, the kind of Xerneas Rainbow Force deck versus the Greninja Break deck.
Right, now this isn't a matchup that we're used to seeing over on the Master side, but just from looking at the decks and from some past experience with this, with the Rainbow Road being a pretty important deck a few months ago, I think that Rainbow Road can be pretty favored here. He's got a lot of type advantage, and if he's able to get the Galvantulas out very early, he has a great chance of sniping Froakies and being able to take multiple knockouts very quickly. But we already saw 1 Joltik in the prize cards.
Yeah, the Galvantula will be a very important part of Regan's strategy, and he has 1 Joltik prized. Not too much prized for Jared there. It looks like players are set up. There's the handshake, and we are off the final match. We will crown a junior division international champion here.
And here we go. Regan starting off with that Volcanion EX. He's never really going to attack with this. Volcanion EX is in this deck because it has 2 types. That means a plus 60 damage going to that Xerneas' Rainbow Force. And maybe not his ideal starter, but it's got a lot of hit points. It would be hard for Jared to work all the way through that.
Yeah, the Xerneas Rainbow Force attack is really the only attack you can do with this deck. There are a few other things that you can do, like we talked about with that Galvantula, but mainly what you're going to want to be doing is Rainbow Forcing, and so you'll see a lot of those dual-type Pokemon and just kind of one of every type of Pokemon just to have the maximum amount of types you can, including a Alolan Rattata, which we have not seen before in this tournament.
Yeah, that's right. Now Regan immediately going into that Ultra Ball for Tapu Lele. Gonna Wonder Tag and find a Pokemon fan club, and this allows him to grab the Xerneas and the Shaman EX. It looks like he's planning to get pretty aggressive pretty quickly. Shaman is known for being able to get knocked out relatively quick by a Greninja deck, but if he goes aggressive enough, maybe we won't even see a Greninja.
So Xerneas does hit the bench, Fairy Energy attached. Max Elixir actually misses.
Oh no.
Only 9 Fairy Energy in the deck, so maybe not as many as some of the other Max Elixir decks, but he does have that 1 energy attached for the turn. He does have that Shaman in hand to draw another 5 cards.
Yeah, that's right. Now he gets to see 5 fresh cards and able to find double colorless energy, a Hex Maniac. And it looks like that last card on the side is a Versus Seeker, so he will have access to any supporter in his discard pile too. But that's the end of his turn, and it's on to Jared's side now with that Talonflame.
Yeah, Regan just has to pass the turn back. Jared, really important to note, did get his kind of ideal starter in that Talonflame. You can see it on your screen, letting you search your deck for any 2 cards. Allows the Greninja deck to really get set up a little bit easier, very similar to something like an Alolan, Vulpix, and some other decks.
Yeah, and what an amazing attack for Talonflame to have access to. This Arrow Blitz, 40 damage, and you get to search for 2 cards and put them into your hand. You can set yourself up to have a fantastic following turn. It looks like Jared already has the Frogadier in hand, so he's just looking to see what else he can plan for that next turn. Obviously looking to use Water Duplicate in the coming turns.
Yeah, just going to go ahead and search his deck here, find any 2 cards that he wants. It allows him to kind of look at his hand and say, oh, okay, what am I missing? What do I what do I need to grab here? Looks like he is going to grab a Splash Energy and a Professor Sycamore.
Yeah, that Splash Energy will save the Frogadier from going to the discard pile if potentially knocked out. And that's just great to see Jared thinking ahead already, getting ready to have those resources back into his hand.
We are back on Regan's side now. What can he put together? We do see he has the double colorless in his hand, so he can start attacking this turn if he can move the Volcanion, but it does not look like that's his plan. Just Fairy Energy on Xerneas and passing the turn right back.
Yeah, he doesn't have much else that he can do. He's got Versus Seeker for Fan Club available to him, I believe, but other than that, he can't do much. So just going to attach that Fairy Energy and pass the turn. And over on Jared's side, he's just ready to Water Duplicate. He sees that that Regan wasn't able to do too much, and this is a perfect time to fill your board with Frogadier.
Yeah, one of the powers of the Greninja deck is this Frogadier's Water Duplicates attack, just letting you kind of skip the Froakie stage entirely and fill your bench with Frogadiers, letting you kind of skip the evolution and get those Greninja out a little bit easier.
Yep, now Regan just top decks another energy card. That's not what he's looking for. Really would like to find a supporter, which would allow him to maybe find a float stone and start to do some damage here, but no, he just has to pass.
Yeah, just attaches to the Volcanion EX in the active position and pass, and this game is definitely in Jared's favor now as we see an evolution to a Greninja and a Choice Band.
Oh, yes, he found it. He's got Greninja out. He's got the Choice Band to do 30 more damage to this Volcanion, and the Volcanion has weakness to water too, so expect to see a lot of damage coming down here.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the pretty much ideal starts, I think, from Jared's deck, just that, opening with the Talonflame, turn 1, Aeroblitz, turn 2, Water Duplicates, and now all the way up to a Greninja.
And fantastic end of this turn here for Jared. He found the Sycamore, so he's able to have a fresh hand of 7 cards here, and can even add to his board a little more if he'd like to. He's got a Froakie in hand. He's definitely got some energies for the following turns, and he's going to be looking to find those Greninja break in the next turn.
There's another Greninja, there's a Water Energy, there's a Dive Ball, there's the third Greninja hitting the board. Wow, Jared just cannot be stopped.
Yeah, he's been able to find everything that he wants, and this is the dream start. This is what you're thinking about before you go to sleep for this big tournament. You're thinking, I need to get 3 Greninjas out as fast as I can, and this is a perfect scenario for Jared.
And he's just going to be able to, now that he has evolved, he's attached, he's played his supporter, all that's left is an attack.
Yep, so looks like, yeah, he's going to take the knockout here. He can go ahead and, I believe he can Shadow Stitch if he likes to.
Yeah, it's going to be knocked out because of the Choice Band. So Jared takes the first knockout, 2 prize cards. It's going down to 4. He has a full board set up, and now it's up to Regan to be able to respond. We see that Xerneas moving to the active position, double colorless. Versus Seeker gets back the Pokemon Fan Club.
Yeah, Regan now looking to find enough different types of Pokemon for his bench that he can do enough damage with Rainbow Force, but it's going to be difficult for him, being that his Volcanion was already knocked out. That was 2 types that he was really counting on having.
Yeah, he does need to have 4 different types on his bench in order to score a knockout on this Greninja. Let's see what he can put together here. Like you talked about earlier, that Galvantula is going to be a key to this matchup. Can you talk about that for a little bit, Kyle?
Yeah, Galvantula, it's very good in the early game for him because it allows him to snipe. He does the 30 damage, but it does apply weakness to 2 different Pokemon on the bench. So he could potentially snipe 2 Froakies in the early stages. At this point now, though, it looks like Galvantula is probably just going to be best used as a Lightning and Grass provider for that Rainbow Force.
And we do see the Rainbow Force knockout Regan taking 1 prize. It's one of the advantages of this Greninja deck is that all of your attackers only give up 1 prize, similar to the Rainbow Force deck, although there are a lot of EXs in that deck.
And as we saw the Froakie, Frogadier, and Greninja fall right there, the Splash Energy allowed them to come right back into play. Jared had an open bench space for the Froakie, a Froakie already on board for the Frogadier, and a Frogadier on board for the Greninja. So everything's right back into play, and looks like Jared's not going to miss a step here.
Just still having 3 Greninja in play. Promotes one of them, looking to get a Greninja breakout this turn.
Yep. Now, one of the scarier pieces here is that in Regan's setup, he's had to bench some Pokemon down that he doesn't want to necessarily. That Shaman EX is going to be an easy target for Greninja to break to start sniping down. And we'll see what Jared's able to find here. Definitely looking for those Greninja breaks, as you said.
Yep, and we're going to see a Versus Seeker get back that Professor Sycamore, allowing Jared to discard his hand and draw fresh 7 cards.
Yeah, not much else he really has in his hand. A lot of water energy, a Field Blower, and Lysander, so time to go.
Yeah, the Field Blower can be important here. We were talking about that a little bit before the match started, but no tools on Regan's side of the board, so he just decides to discard it.
Yep, we see he found the Splash Energy and a Greninja Break. Means that he doesn't have the energy to start to use Giant Water Shuriken, but he does have those extra hit points that he might potentially value. Also has a Dive Ball if he wants to have a second Greninja Break, so we're going to see both of these coming out.
Yeah, Dive Ball does find that Greninja Break, as you said. Now, Jared does have access to 2 of them, exactly what he wants. You see a Break Evolution on the Greninja in the active position and on the bench.
Yep, it looks like Jared accidentally picked that Dive Ball back up. Hopefully we can get that into the discard pile.
Oh, yep. All right.
Yeah.
Good catch there. He just, a lot of moving parts here. He just accidentally put it back in his hand. No harm, no foul. We're going to see a retreat possibly into that benched Greninja Break.
Yeah, these Greninjas are sneaky. They're able to move around a lot, and it looks like Jared has the opportunity here to just use Arrow Blitz. He can get himself some fresh cards and a little bit of damage on that Xerneas as well.
Yeah, he's just saying, I can't really take a knockout here anyway, so I might as well promote a Pokemon that I'm not as attached to as an important for my matchup, and just maybe search my deck for a few cards while putting a little bit of pressure, softening up that Xerneas.
Right now, both players are going to be working pretty hard for their prizes with their general attacks here. With Regan's main attacker being a non-EX or non-GX Pokemon, along with Jared as well. So a lot of one-prize exchanges is something that we're not used to seeing at this stage in the trading card game. A lot of decks now have been revolving around GX and EX Pokemon.
These 2 decks, like you said, very focused on non-EXs here, making your opponent take a kind of a more fair game, like Pokemon was intended to be played with only 1 prize each.
Yeah, so that's why we see that only a few prize cards have been taken so far, and both players having time to set up their board and really do what they want to do. Here comes the Galvantula down, so 2 more types available for Regan, and he's got the Skyfield too, which means that he can set up his board even further if he'd like to.
Yeah, very important to note, similar to that Volcanion EX, Galvantula is 2 different types, so it will provide 2 types of Rainbow Force, one of the cool kind of a dual type Pokemon, as we see a Super Rod bring back that Volcanion EX to the deck.
Yeah, Regan knows how important that Volcanion can be if he just needs to get a little extra damage. The Greninja Break has a lot of hit points, and if he wants to get through that, he's going to need access to multiple types on his bench.
It looks like he currently has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types, so he will be able to take a knockout here, but he's going to add a Shaman to the board, draw some cards.
Yeah, and over on the other side, Jared has to be licking his chops, seeing 2 Shaman EXs on the board.
Well, if you see a Genesect EX added to the board for Regan, just giving him another type in Metal. So he is pretty much accomplishing everything he wants as a 3rd Xerneas and an Experience Share. Hits the board Experience Share, not a card we see a whole lot of, but very important in this deck.
Yeah, another card that we could see coming into play, Regan accidentally already showed us, is that Hex Maniac. That Hex Maniac can be fantastic against Jared because he can stop these Giant Water Shurikens from taking prize cards on Shaman EX. But this turn, he has a Lysander, and he's able to remove a Greninja Break that doesn't have a Splash Energy.
Yeah, wow, that Lysander was huge. That Greninja Break does fall to the Rainbow Force. Regan now at 2 prizes, evening things up here. Absolutely huge knockout.
Yep, now it's time for Jared to see what he wants to do here. He has access to 1 water energy so far, and interested to see what his supporter choice for the turn is going to be. If he wants to dig a little deeper and try to find some more water energy, or maybe he wants to start to disrupt Regan. Regan showed that he had the Hex Maniac in hand, so maybe an end of 4 is going to be the right choice for him.
Yeah, classically one of the weaknesses of the Greninja deck is it's if you can lock its abilities, if you can turn off that giant water shuriken, the cards get much less powerful and the deck functions a lot worse.
Oh, and look at that. Jared just wants to remove any of the attackers off of Regan's side here. He's going to start working on that other Xerneas.
We see a teammates come down for Jared because his Greninja Break was knocked out this turn. He can search his deck for any 2 cards, kind of a Talonflame in supporter form. And it looks like he's going to find a Water Energy and a Field Blower. Teammates really powerful, just letting you kind of have your pick of whatever options you'd like out of your deck.
Yeah, now this Field Blower may be a double-edged sword because removing that Skyfield means that these Shaman EXs can be potentially taken off of the board, but it also helps Jared in the sense that less Pokemon on Regan's side means that he may not have enough damage available to himself.
So we see the second giant water shuriken there, targeting down that Xerneas on the bench, taking a prize. Jared Chapman now 3 prizes away from winning game 1. Field Blower, getting rid of that Skyfield and that experience share.
Yep, and now it's up to Regan to decide which Pokemon he doesn't want to keep on board. Great choice there.
Easy Shaman there.
Gotta get rid of that. And Jared's been having a fantastic turn himself here. Now has a decision to make. He wants to keep that Splash Energy on board, but at the same time, he's also looking to take this knockout. So he's going to move the energy back up to his hand in order to do that 80 damage. And now he's down to just 2 prizes.
Yeah, if he can knock out any EX or GX Pokemon, he will win game 1 here. And like you said earlier, that Shaman can be an easy target for him.
Yeah, it's a Hex Maniac, though. That's going to stop Jared from being able to use Giant Water Shuriken. And now Regan going to steal a free prize there on the Froakie.
Yep, Regan taking a knockout with that. Galvantula going down to 3 prizes of his own. So very back and forth match here. Remember, Hex Maniac is in effect. No Giant Water Shurikens. Jared's deck is, for at least this turn, is much less powerful than it was. So let's see what he can put together here. It would be kind of an easy 2 Giant Water Shurikens on that Shaman for the game, but a timely Hex Maniac is going to put a stop to that.
Yeah, if Jared wants to, he has the option here. He can he can attach an energy for the turn. He can also just retreat to Talonflame, use an N, and then go and grab 2 cards of his choosing in order to set up for the game-winning double Giant Water Shuriken on the Shaman. So he has some choices available to him. We'll see what he decides. Already eyeing up a Versus Seeker.
It looks like a Versus Seeker is going to find a Lysander for him here. Bring that Shaman to the active position.
Yeah, this just means that Regan's going to need an energy to retreat or to be able to find a float stone. And Jared's going to put some pressure on. That 60 damage there means that he's just 1 Giant Water Shuriken away from knocking out this Shaman and taking the opening game.
We see an attachment to the Shaman there. Professor Sycamore drawing Regan a fresh hand of 7 cards.
Yep, and what is Regan able to do here? Likely wants to retreat, get that Shaman out of the active spot. It's definitely feeling a lot of pressure on it. But if Jared doesn't have an energy, then maybe he can avoid being knocked out here.
Yeah, even if the Shaman moves to the bench, if Jared has a single basic water energy in his hand, that will be the game. His Giant Water Shuriken will be able to place 6 damage counters on that Shaman, and we saw that Regan played the Sycamore supporter, so he will not be able to Hex Maniac. So let's see, we got a Max Elixir here. It does find a Fairy Energy getting attached to that Xerneas, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, Jared actually just drops his hand here. He has the water. He's already seen the supporter for the turn. No N, no Hex Maniac to stop him. So it looks like Jared is going to be eyeing up that first game.
Yep. Regan just shuffling off of the Max Elixir, going to go ahead and attach with this Galvantula. Still playing it out, just hoping that he does not have a water energy, but as we know, he does. There's a Giant Water Shuriken.
Boom.
Those are the last 2 prizes. Jared Chapman takes game 1 here in the finals of the North American International Championship.
And just look at the look on his face. He's so in the game. He's just ready to move on to the next one. Says, yeah, that's what I was trying to do, and it worked out perfectly. He's going to be looking for that Frogadier start again in the second game. But what an amazing opening from him. We saw so many Greninja in play so early.
Yeah, going into that match, I think we both kind of thought that the Xerneas deck was a little bit advantaged because of the power of that Galvantula and just because of kind of the inconsistency that can sometimes happen with the Greninja deck. But it was actually the complete opposite as we saw Regan stumble to get set up and we saw Jared just really go off.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily how the game is always going to go. It was just unfortunate for Regan that he got stuck with an awkward hand. He had VS Seeker for a fan club and no real draw supporter, so he couldn't really move anything on his board. Just had to attach some energy and watch Jared do everything he wanted to. And by the time it was time for him to start attacking, Jared had every answer ready.
So if Regan is going to win this game too, what is that going to look like from him? Obviously, he needs a better start, but if both players kind of get off to a reasonable pace, what is he going to be looking for? How can he win this game and tie this match?
Well, there's two strategies that I think could be very successful. Starting a Xerneas and getting a very aggressive Rainbow Force off can work out well for him. And secondly, he's got that Galvantula. So if he can get the Galvantula early and snipe 2 Froakies, those prize cards may be able to just take him the rest of the way. That prize advantage is going to be difficult for Jared to overcome.
Going to look at Jared there, 1 game away from potentially becoming a North American international champion. Players shuffling up, going to draw their opening hands now. A lot of pressure on both of these players, winning the biggest tournament of the year and the biggest tournament of Pokemon trading card game history.
Yep. Now, Regan is going to be excited to see just a Froakie over on Jared's side. Did not find that Talonflame that he put 4 of in his deck just to start. Actually, even taking a Froakie out of the deck just to have a better chance, and he wasn't able to start with it there.
It looks like players are getting ready to place their prizes. They both have a starting Pokemon. Going to take a look at Regan's prizes first.
Yep. Oh, we see double colorless energy, 2 fairies, 3 fairies, and a Max Elixir. So we might see Regan start to struggle trying to find energies in the opening of this game.
Right.
And one thing you don't want to see when you're the Greninja player is one of your Frogadiers prized, but fortunate that he prized 2 Talonflames, so doesn't have to worry about drawing into those when they're essentially just going to be useless in the opening of the game.
There is the handshake, and we are off. Regan is going first here, opens a Joltik, drops a Genesect EX on the bench, adds a Skyfield to the board, and trying to get set up as much as possible. Shaman set up just for 2 cards.
Yep, but he does find Ultra Ball, so that means this turn is going to continue, and I'm sure he's very excited to see that. Also gets to place the Hex Maniac in his discard pile, meaning that VS Seeker will be able to find that for him at important points in this game. Also important to note, the Joltik start can be very scary if your opponent starts a Talonflame. 40 damage is an easy knockout on that Joltik, so Regan feels very good to look over at that Froakie for multiple reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see going into Jared's turn the difference between a Froakie and a Talonflame start is just huge in making the Greninja deck function and allowing it to get all of its moving pieces into play. But for now, Regan's turn. He is considering what to get with that Ultra Ball. Typically, we saw him do it last turn. He gets a Tapu Lele, Wonder Tags, a Pokemon fan club just to fill his bench with different types of Pokemon.
Yeah, now if he doesn't have another supporter after this fan club in his hand, we might see him grab another Shaman and then just have to find some draw off of that, and we see it again here.
Kyle Sablehouse with the reads.
Yeah, this just means that Hex Maniac is going to be so important in the later stages of this game because Shamans are the best target for Jared's deck.
See a Super Rod shuffling in just that 1 copy of Fairy Energy. Likely just getting rid of that card so we can draw another with Shaman, but he does have quite a few energy cards prized, so we will be glad that is back in the deck.
Yeah, everyone is going to count there because he's got 4 energies in his discard or in his prize cards. So it needs to get that energy back. It's also going to be important if he's able to find one of the 3 remaining Max Elixir. He's going to want to see that.
All right, here is a Xerneas, a Fairy Energy, and then a Shaman set up for 4 new cards.
Yep. Able to find himself an Experience Share, Lysander, and a double colorless energy. Would like to find a way to move this Joltik here, though, because he wants to start Rainbow Forcing as early as possible.
So he just has to pass the turn back. Jared now getting his first turn. Like we said, a Froakie start as opposed to the Talonflame start in Game 1 is going to make this turn look a lot different as we see a Dive Ball is the first play from Jared.
Yeah, Jared's main goal here is place as many Froakie down as I can onto this board, and I need one of them to stick so that I can have a Frogadier use water duplicates and get the rest of my Frogadier in play, or else this game is just over.
And Dive Ball finds the Froakie. Let's see what else Jared can put together on his turn. Regan had a pretty optimal start there, just getting all these different types onto the bench, finding a Xerneas, even starting with the Joltik, which if he can find a Galvantula can be huge here. Another Dive Ball coming down.
Yep, he does play 3 Froakie, so he's going to be able to find the last Froakie and place it on his board here. Also very important, Jared has the water energy in hand, and Froakie's attack, it doesn't seem that great, but Bubble is able to buy turns very often. We see Graft and Roll do this so many times, just being able to find those spots where you need to buy an extra turn, and it looks like Jared's going to have that opportunity himself.
It looks like he's considering attaching the water energy bubble. Very powerful attack, as you can see on your screen. Kind of one of those things where it doesn't look like it's really the biggest thing, but we've definitely seen games won by bubble.
Oh, yeah, he's going for it.
Oh, he misses.
Well, anticlimactic there. It's not going to end up buying him that turn, but Joltik is ready, and it looks like Regan is going to commit right now to this Galvantula. He finds the Ultra Ball.
He attaches the double colorless, finds the Ultra Ball. He will be able to get the Galvantula into play now, and this is huge for him. There it is. You can see Galvantula on your screen. That double thread attack is going to apply weakness and can take 2 Froakie knockouts.
Jared's like, oh no, applies weakness. But yes, that is true, and this is just one of those scenarios that we talked about. He's going to be able to remove both of these Froakies and really just leave Jared with this active Froakie wondering, what can I do now? If I don't have access to these Froakies in the coming turns, my splash energies don't do very much, and I might just be out of this game.
And there is a max elixir on the Xerneas onto the bench.
Yeah, that's also very important there for him too. Regan wants to have multiple attackers, so has to make sure that he has that available to him too. And now we see, oh, he's got a third even.
Yes, and there's 3 energy building up that Xerneas onto the bench. Rainbow Force is fully prepared now.
Yep, he's got the 3 energies there down, so he even has the access to that Rainbow Force.
I'll use double thread
And here we see the double thread going to take the knockout on 2 Froakies there.
Yep, and big turn for Regan. And now it's just up to Jared to see what he can do. He's got the Super Rod and able to get both of those Froakies back into his deck, and he's going to want to search those back out. He wants to make sure that some of these can stick.
Yeah, he needs to start getting things set up here. You've talked a lot about how he wants to get the many Froakies into play. He wants to kind of fill his bench with those Greninjas, and that's not at all what's happening here.
Yep, he definitely wants to find a Frogadier. Still may not know that one of his Frogadier is prized as well, but yeah, it's time. He needs to search. If he doesn't find a Frogadier, though, we're going to be looking at a bubble in order to try to stay alive for this game, too. Oh, he does find the Froakie, though, so that will help him, too, there. With those being shuffled back in with the Super Rod, able to immediately find that. And I don't think I see a Frogadier. Oh, he's got the Dive Ball, though.
He does have the Dive Ball. Finding that Frogadier. There we go.
Yep, and Jared knows that that's going to be the end of his turn. He's going to use this water duplicates and fill the rest of his board as much as he can with these Frogadiers. Hoping to find 3, just going to be able to find 2, though.
Yeah, so he is right back into this game. Water duplicates, one of the most powerful attacks, kind of really allowing Greninja to get set up. It kind of, a lot of the evolutions deck we see can't really afford to kind of play a fair game. They can't really afford to just naturally evolve. And water duplicates help you to just kind of say, I'm not going to worry about Froakie too much. I'm just going to kind of get to skip a stage here and kind of, in a way, turn Greninja into a stage 1.
That's right. Now, the fact that Jared played down that Froakie means that Galvantula still has some easy knockouts available to it if Regan so chooses. He may also value just getting this Galvantula out of the active spot and starting to use Rainbow Forces to remove these Frogadiers that can potentially become Greninjas soon.
You have another Max Elixir building up a fifth energy card on the board, a fourth fairy on for Regan's side, just getting that second Xerneas set up, and he's really got everything he needs.
Yeah, this has definitely just been going Regan's way, and you can see it on Jared's face. He's going, this is not the game that I want to have. I might be looking towards game 3 pretty soon.
Let's go back to game 1. I liked how that went.
Well, down goes the Rough Seas. It's generally just a counter stadium in this matchup. Not often are you going to be able to heal any damage because Regan likes to take big knockouts, but one knockout there to the Froakie, and we will see some damage stick onto the board placed back on that Frogadier.
Yeah, Regan, 3 prizes remaining halfway through this game. Jared has yet to take a prize. We see a Greninja evolution and an attachment to the Frogadier on the bench.
Yep, now one way to punish the aggression that early game that Regan has is to find N, and Jared was able to do that. This leaves Regan with just 3 cards. Gonna continue to be looking for cards like his energies, maybe the VS Seeker so that he can find Hex Maniacs. Just wants to make sure that extra damage isn't available to Jared. And over on the other side, Jared just really wants to start building onto this board. Would love to find some Greninjas so that he can evolve these Frogadier and potentially have the breaks next turn.
Yeah, Jared gets a fresh hand of 6 cards. Regan only gets 3, and we see a second Greninja come in to play. What can Jared do here? How can he pull ahead in this match?
Well, he correctly evolves the Frogadier that was almost going to be knocked out by this Galvantula. The Greninja has 130 hit points, so not a knockout if he evolves there with just the 60 damage on him. But the problem is Jared doesn't have a way to take a knockout on this Galvantula. His max damage output is going to be 80, and it looks like just Shadow Stitching is going to be his best option here.
Yeah, just 40 damage on that Galvantula here. We see an immediate Professor Sycamore from Regan discarding his hand, drawing a fresh hand of 7 cards.
Yep, he finds another Xerneas, Floatstone, Ultra Ball, all great cards for him.
He is truly doing it here. Double colorless, even just getting ready to build up maybe a third attacker in one of the Xerneases.
Yep, and in his prize cards, we know that he has some energies available. So every knockout means that he's going to be finding more and more energies, and that just means that all these Xerneases are going to be ready to attack.
If we see a Floatstone get attached to that Galvantula, allowing it to retreat and retain its energy. Regan taking a minute here, thinking, okay, what do I do now? How can I continue to press my advantage? Double colorless on the Xerneas, and we do see that retreat.
Yeah, this is fantastic for Regan. Not only did the Galvantula take 3 prize cards, but its dual type is going to allow it to make the Xerneas do even more damage as it remains a threat on the bench.
Got 2 prizes remaining for Regan here in Game 2. He is in a dominant position, just needs to close out this game to force a Game 3. Can Jared come back and take this game and the match?
And Jared's had a difficult time here, unable to find splash energies, unable to keep Froakies on board, and just hasn't been able to get much going. He's got options in his hand like Lysander. If he wants to try to buy some time, potentially can take the Oranguru and bring it to the active spot, but it looks like he needs more cards than that, so he's just going to use this Professor Sycamore.
Yeah, discarding his hand, discarding that Lysander we just talked about, drawing 7 cards, hoping to put something together to keep him into this game, but let's see. He does get the Greninja out, so now he has 2 attackers up. Looks like he has a Rescue Stretcher as well, considering getting some Froakies back. So this is how he's going to do it, right? I mean, this is what he needs.
Yeah, he has the option to Rescue Stretcher here and grab Froakie. I don't believe a Greninja break has hit the bench yet. And he actually just wants to place the entire line back in. He knows he's going to have to win a long game if he is going to win this game too, because he's got a lot of prize cards to take. So he's going to put the entire line back in.
Shuffling those 3 Pokemon from his discard pile back into his deck. Field Blower is going to take care of the Skyfield, and a tool on Regan's side.
Yeah, I believe the experience share on the Xerneas is more important than the Floatstone, and Jared does eye that and takes it away.
Regan will need to discard his bench.
Yep,
Yeah,
just
he's Just going to go ahead and take the Shaman just like always.
This is one part that Regan doesn't dislike too much. He just gets to take away these Shamans, and that has to actually make him feel a little more comfortable. He still has a lot of damage available to him due to the fact that Galvantula is going to stay on the board, and he was able to avoid some easy prize cards for Jared in the future.
Yeah, he still has plenty of types on his bench, and now he gets to kind of, in a way, protect himself from those easy Shaman knockouts that we saw win Jared the game in game 2. So game 1 rather. So not too upset about that is Regan.
Yeah, one thing Jared needs to be sure of is to use the Greninja with 60 damage on it right now, because he needs to have the Greninja break and all of its hit points in order to withstand the current board right now.
Experience share on the bench Xerneas, double colorless on the other bench Xerneas, fully built up now, ready to attack. And there's a Versus Seeker for Hex Maniac, and it looks like Jared Chapman is just going to concede. Regan Retzloff takes game 2 and ties this matchup. We will be going to a game 3.
Yeah, and I love right there, you see Regan looks through the last 2 cards of his deck to see, what else was going to happen in this game? Was I going to be able to continue to keep this pressure on? But yeah, he's got himself a win, and now he's just got one question right now that wants to be answered. Is it going to be a Talonflame or a Froakie start?
Yeah, we talked about this while the players were setting up for game 2, but there is just a monumental difference between how the Greninja deck functions when it starts with Talonflame versus when it starts with Froakie. There were some other things that went wrong in that game for Jared, that early Galvantula just kind of decimating the board there.
Yeah.
However, the Talonflame start was really the key. He would have been able to Arrow Blitz, search his deck for any 2 cards and kind of start building up, maybe had a better response when Regan did get that Galvantula up. So it's often, is what we often say with the Greninja deck is, will he start with Talonflame? The difference is so huge. It almost looks like an entirely different deck.
Yeah, that's right. It just looked like Jared wasn't able to do anything he wanted. Also, that Frogadier and the prize cards was big, so really just doesn't want to see that ever again too. So this game 3, if he's able to have all Frogadiers in his deck along with the Talonflame start, you might have to think he's favored to win this international championship.
It looks like the first few turns are going to be pretty big here in determining how the rest of this match is going to go. Players are just shuffling up. So on Jared's side, like we said, he's looking for that Talonflame. Regan is just looking for a start like he had last game. What an amazing start. That may be one of the best starts I've ever seen with the Rainbow Force deck.
Yeah, that was amazing, the way that Galvantula was able to just take control of the game. The Joltik is terrifying to start with until you see that the Froakie is flipped over. So gonna be keeping an eye on these cards to see what the starter is. And the last card is a Froakie.
Jared will be starting with a Froakie, never what you want to see. Looks like players will be setting up their prizes. Let's go ahead and take a look at Regan's. All right, 1 Joltik is prize. He does run a 2-1 line. So nothing too bad there. He's that Alolan, Rattata, the lone dark type in Regan's deck. Greninja Break prized for Jared. So nothing too huge on either side. Players are set up. Prizes have been placed. We see the reveal. The handshake, whoever wins this game will be crowned the North American International Champion in the junior division. 1 final game.
Yep, Jared did split there. He did not get the Talonflame, but he does have all the Froakies in his deck. He's going to be finding out that information pretty soon here, opening with this Ultra Ball.
Yeah, Ultra Ball discarding Max Potion, deciding the other card to get rid of, and now he's going to figure it out. Look through his deck, see what he wants to take, kind of see how he can start building here. Again, no Talonflame start, so he is, in a way, immediately on the back foot. I know that kind of sounds silly to say, but you really, really want to see that Talonflame start. You've changed your deck around. You're playing fewer Froakies to increase the chances that you can start with Talonflame. You are really built all around that, and unfortunately for Jared, that will not happen here in Game 3.
Yeah, that means that off of this end, he has potentially 4 duds. He doesn't want to see any Talonflames because he can't do anything with them. Already using an Ultra Ball, it's one of the few ways that he can discard cards. So he might just be stuck drawing into Talonflames in inopportune times.
If you do not start with Talonflame, provides no value for you. So kind of the high risk, high reward saying if it's in your opening hand, it's a great starter, can do kind of everything you want it to do. But if it's, you draw any card after those original 7 and it is not going to look too good for you.
Right now, Regan, he's also going to get 6 fresh cards here, starting with the Oranguru. Not his ideal starter, but not a terrible one either. Has a lot of hit points, and it's also a pretty good target for the Floatstone. Because you like to have Oranguru on your side in order to instruct when ends get scary.
And we do see just what we were talking about, that Talonflame stuck in Jared's hand now, kind of reducing. He just has to pass the turn back to Regan. Let's see what Regan can put together.
Yeah, Jared had some energies available to him. Didn't think that it was important to play those down. Wants to hold on to those for a later turn. And now it's on Regan. He's got the Floatstone for the Oranguru, which is perfect for him. That means that he can go pick out whatever starter he wants right now. If he wants to focus on the Xerneas or have access to the Joltik that he had last time, he can start that. But everything starts with this Tapu Lele for the fan club. We've seen Regan do this every game so far, and it seems to be one of his favorite plays. He also has a Max Elixir in his hand too, so he can use this Tapu Lele fan club for the Xerneas and Shaman. Or he also has the supporter that he wants right now. Just can search out the Xerneas and use that Max Elixir immediately.
Yeah, the kind of classic play here, trying to get all of those different types onto the board, as many as possible, all of those different Pokemon.
We could see turn 1 Rainbow Force.
Here we go, Max Elixir. Oh no, Max Elixir misses.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Regan definitely wanted to see a Fairy Energy there. Turn 1 Rainbow Force in Game 3, that can be commanding, but no, he's going to have to find a couple more pieces to the puzzle now.
Instruct for one.
He's going to go ahead and instruct for just 1 card and finally play the N, going back up to 6 cards for both players.
Yeah, that was probably the best opportunity for Oranguru. It's going to be difficult for Regan to play his hand down lower than 3 cards after this end to 6, unless he found cards like Ultra Ball. So just took that one chance there, trying to find 1 extra card that he could play. If it was a Max Elixir, I'm sure he would have been ecstatic. A double colorless energy, a lot of cards he would have been able to play there, but just wasn't able to find one that helped him.
Right, you got to get your instruct value where you can. Both players drawing 6 cards. What does Regan want to see out of this hand?
Well, Max Elixir, double colorless, and 1 more Pokemon would be able to set him up brilliantly for this Froakie knockout. So those cards for sure. Ultra Ball is also a fantastic card. This means he can commit to some Shamans if he wants to, if he really wants to push for that turn 1 knockout.
Yeah, Regan dropping a Xerneas, attaching a Fairy Energy onto the bench. Xerneas, I did see that he has Ultra Balls in his hand, but he's just going to pass the turn back. Jared will start turn 2 by top decking a basic Water Energy.
Yeah, Regan, wise beyond his years, decides not to go aggressive there and play those Ultra Balls, grabbing Shamans and trying to do something that maybe would have exhausted all his resources. Jared on the other side, whoa, that's all his energies.
Yeah, that was a Field Blower, attach, and then think for a minute and Sycamore away. I think 3 basic Water Energy.
Yeah, he would have to find cards like his 1 Fisherman in order to get those back. Gonna be relying on the last few basic waters and those splash energies to be able to attack, and also the basics for that giant water shuriken.
And we do see that evolution to Frogadier and a Water Duplicates filling his bench with Frogadier. So even though he did not get the Talonflame start that he wanted, he is in a pretty good position here, getting that turn 2 Water Duplicates.
Yeah, and let's not ignore the fact that Field Blower in the Sycamore was huge. That stopped the Oranguru now from having access to free retreat, which Regan was really counting on to be able to use Rainbow Force. He had the opportunity to retreat immediately there and avoid that Field Blower being a disruption, but now he has to find a way out of the active spot here too.
We see an Ultra Ball coming down, discarding an Ultra Ball and a Versus Seeker, just finding that Joltik. We saw the Galvantula play a huge role in Game 2, the win for Regan. Not going to play as big of a role now that these Pokemon are evolved. There's not many Froakies on the board, but still providing 2 different types and a reasonable attacker.
Yeah, it's nice to have a safety net when your Skyfield is disrupted that isn't named Volcanion, because Volcanion can be very scary when you're playing against a water deck.
Yeah, Pokemon Fan Club coming down off the Instruct for Regan. Looks like he's eyeing up a Shaman EX, and it looks like he's actually is taking that Volcanion. Still considering, gonna look through his deck, but those are the Pokemon he has chosen.
Yeah, by using this Volcanion, it means that the rest of his board, he can still focus on more and more Xerneases. He doesn't feel bad playing down all those fairy types because it's not going to affect the Rainbow Force as much.
Yeah, the Volcanion, similar to the Galvantula you saw last game, is 2 types, both water and fire, counting towards the Rainbow Force damage. As we see a Shaman on the bench set up for 4 cards.
Yep, and I don't think Regan found what he was looking for. Double colorless, yes, but Floatstone, no, so he just has to pass.
A huge field blower out of Jared last turn. Let's see what he can put together here. Tons of Frogadier in play. There's a Splash Energy on one of the bench Frogadier and a Dive Ball.
Yeah, 2 Greninjas this turn means possibly 2 Greninja break next turn, which means that he would be able to snipe off this Xerneas before it even gets its first attack. That would be game-changing.
Another Dive Ball out of Jared, just the second of 3 he has in his hand. Going to go ahead and find a Greninja, it looks like.
Yeah, and you can just see the pace of play over on Jared's side. He's feeling it. He's already able to get 3 Greninjas. It looks like a hand that you would have with a Talonflame start, but no, he's been able to do this with just the Froakies.
Yeah, 3 Dive Balls find 3 Greninjas. The not having a Talonflame start did not slow him down all that much as he retreats into the Splash Energied. Greninja attaches a Choice Band to the benched one. He has a Talonflame and a Teammates in his hand, so unusable cards will do Shadow Stitching for 40 damage.
Yep, that means Regan now got to commit to finding this Floatstone, got to get out of the active spot, put some pressure back on Jared because Jared doesn't have much going on. Unfortunately, Regan doesn't know that Jared's holding on to this teammate, so this knockout that he's going to get kind of plays a little back into Jared, but there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah, you just have to try and take the knockout. With the Rainbow Force there, Splash Energy will activate, returning the Pokemon to his hand. Regan takes the first prize of this game. Greninja comes back down. Frogadier comes back down, and we do see that Teammates followed by 2 Talonflame. So the only playable card in Jared's hand is one of the most powerful supporters in the format.
Yeah, he's able to go find himself 2 cards right now, put himself in a good position. It looks like he can set himself up next turn with the Professor Sycamore, and the Splash Energy is also another card that he's eyeing because he'd like to make sure that this Greninja is able to come back into the board next turn if potentially knocked out.
And we saw how powerful that Splash Energy was on this knockout, just allowing Jared to say, okay, you took a prize, but I'm going to play another Greninja down, I'm going to play another Frogadier down, and put myself in a much better position. So as you said, Professor Sycamore and Splash Energy were the finds off Teammates there.
Yep. Regan has to feel pretty good, though. Knows that his Xerneas isn't going to be knocked out this turn. The experience share on the other Xerneas is likely going to stick. You've already seen a Field Blower. So this means just keep doing what you're doing. Find more Pokemon to start getting set up. And if you're able to get that Skyfield, perhaps another Xerneas, you can get enough attackers to stay in this game and really challenge Jared.
Yep, and Regan starts his turn. First play will be an Ultra Ball, discarding a 3rd copy of Xerneas and a basic Fairy Energy.
Yep, don't know what he will be looking for here. Might just want to get cards out of his hand, honestly. Maybe if he has a Professor Sycamore, wants to remove a Pokemon from his deck and thin it out. But yeah, it looks like he just doesn't have anything in there that he wants. The Super Rod, however, is going to be able to put some energies back into his deck that he wants, and potentially some Pokemon too. Looks like he's eyeing up 2 fairies and a Xerneas. The Tapu Lele is also a fantastic play too.
Yeah, decides to go with a basic fairy, a Tapu Lele, and a Xerneas, shuffling those back in. Just kind of preparing for when he may, because he's probably going to get ahead in this match, and an untimely end could really set him back a little bit here. So just trying to thin his deck out with that Ultra Ball and then put some useful cards like Tapu Lele GX back into his deck.
Yeah, now generally against any other deck, you'd have the Oranguru Instruct available to you after ends, but if Jared continues to Shadow Stitch, he really just doesn't have any options there, and he could end up with a hand that doesn't go anywhere.
Professor Sycamore discards a Rescue Stretcher, draws 7 cards for Regan, and it looks like he's just going to go ahead and Rainbow Force, take his 2nd prize card. That Greninja will go back to the hand because of that Splash Energy. The Splash Energy is keeping Jared in this game. Greninja hits the board. 3 in play now for Jared, and there's that Professor Sycamore that he got last turn.
Yeah, tad bit of an awkward spot. He has the Froakie and Frogadier, but not able to play them both down at the same time. So actually just going to get rid of them all right now. Wants to have these 3 Greninjas be the prizes that Regan has to run through.
Yep, 7 fresh cards. There is the Greninja break as well.
But this is where all those water energies going into the discard pile really hurts him. He doesn't have access to these unless he uses his supporter for the turn of Fisherman, and he's already played a Sycamore here. So yes, he has the options to start evolving, but he can't really start to do any damage other than his attacks. Now just looking at his discard pile, trying to figure out what the best option is for him. Super Rod is able to get him some energies back into his deck if he wants, or he can start working on another Greninja line. Almost doesn't want to take these water energies because he wants to have access to them with the Fisherman in the coming turns. So just one going to go back into his deck.
There is the Super Rod getting those water energies back. See that Choice Band not going to do too much here versus these non-EX Xerneas.
And Jared now just trying to figure out what's his best option. Should he evolve into the break here? Should he just continue to put on some pressure? He's got 80 damage available to him in order to take a knockout, and he is going to do that.
The first prize taken by Jared in this game, a Xerneas falls to that Greninja break. Remembering to experience share, save that energy, does Regan.
Yep, and he has the energy in hand. Also, a Max Elixir would love to see an energy. He does. He finds a fairy, so he's able to start setting up another Pokemon. That back Xerneas is just one double colorless energy away from being able to attack as well. So Regan has to be feeling pretty comfortable here. A lot of types on his side as well.
Yeah, that Max Elixir kind of saves him an entire turn of attaching, making sure that if this Xerneas falls, the second one will be able to attack with just the use of a double colorless energy.
Yep, already attached for the turn to the active Pokemon there, so has to hold on to that double colorless for another turn there. And now he just has to decide what he wants for his potential supporter for the turn, or even if he needs to, he might just want to hold on to that resource.
Yeah, Genesect EX hits the bench, the 6th bench Pokemon, thanks to that Skyfield. Regan kind of has everything he needs here. There's a Rainbow Force. There's a knockout. 3 prizes remaining for Regan.
Yep, and that has to feel great. Also finding a Shaman if he needs to draw into some extra cards out of those prizes. And back over to Jared now. He's got the Rescue Stretcher. He can continue to put more of these Froakie combinations back into his deck if he wants, but he wants the break here.
Yeah, just choosing to use the first option on Rescue Stretcher there, taking one Pokemon and putting it right back into his hand, getting that Greninja break, and immediately evolving.
Yep, he now can use this Ultra Ball in order to find another Greninja break and have both of these out in play, which means water energies are essentially 60 extra damage whenever he pleases.
So this is exactly what Jared wants here. 2 Greninja breaks in play. Didn't see if he has any energy in his hand, what that count is. It looks like, oh, he has a Fisherman. Gonna get 4 energy back to his hand.
Yeah, and this is where Jared wants to be now. He can he can either double Shuriken on the active Pokemon and take an easy attack into anything that Regan promotes. He can start to take away Pokemon like the Shaman if he wants to. Looks like he's going to start to work on the back Xerneas and take that off of the board and put an attack into the active Pokemon here.
Rough Sea is getting rid of that Skyfield.
And now he just has to decide what attack is best for him. Does he want to place perhaps just 60 damage, knowing that Water Shuriken will be able to knock out this Pokemon in the coming turn? Or does he want to Shadow Stitch and avoid any abilities affecting him? Looks like Shadow Stitch is going to be his line.
He can't actually play. Okay, yeah, so he was corrected. He has to play the Skyfield first, and then add that 6th bench Pokemon, double colorless energy on that Xerneas. Max Elixir does find a basic fairy. Regan just cannot be stopped here, just finding everything he needs.
Yeah, that's great for him. He was running low on Pokemon to continue to work with, but that Max Elixir really helps him out there. Means that he won't be as susceptible to the end that Jared is looking to start setting up soon, as Regan is going to be looking at his last couple prizes soon.
Yeah, Regan going to take a second to consult the discard pile. Looks like he's going to versus Seeker, get back a Professor Sycamore.
I want to see what else is in his discard pile. Perhaps if he had the Hex Maniac, but I don't know if it's in there. But yeah, he's able to find the Sycamore, draw 7 cards. And he's got another Max Elixir in there. I don't know where he'd want that attachment to go to, but maybe just doesn't want to see that card anymore. But yeah, he's just going to take the Rainbow Force knockout.
Force knockout. 2 prizes remaining for Regan. Just 2 knockouts away from becoming an international champion. Jared only has 1 Pokemon in play, that Greninja break. Can he put something together here? Super Rod going to find 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards and shuffle them back into his deck, but will it be enough?
Yeah, Jared now just coming to that realization, I need to have 1 more Pokemon down because Regan has 2 prize cards and Jared only has 1 Pokemon left. So you want to at least make him work through 2 Pokemon, even if it is only a Froakie or a Frogadier. Maybe you could buy some turns with that Froakie bubble if you have to. I mean, you got to play every out you have.
Yeah, at this stage, players are definitely going to be playing to their outs. Even if they have a low percentage of winning, they have to keep trying. Looks like Jared's considering attaching that basic energy, also debating on what supporter to play for the turn.
Yeah, this is where he might just be thinking about the bubble, because that is one of the options that saves him. He can use he can do 80 damage with the Moonlight if he wants to, but he knows that he's probably going to get knocked out coming back into his turn. So scary spot here, and he's going to see only 4 cards.
Yeah, 4 cards to find a basic Pokemon and keep himself in this game, give himself a chance at becoming international champion. I don't think he drew it.
Oh, he just found some Talonflame and some energies.
He's played a supporter for the turn, cannot play that Talonflame. It's a stage 2 Pokemon, 2 basic water energy. I don't think there's anything he can do.
Yep, he's just going to look at it a little longer, see if there's anything left for him to potentially do here.
Considering his options, Regan Retzloff maybe just 1 turn away from becoming the North American international champion.
Yep, just has to make the decision here now of what attack is best. Takes the knockout.
There's a knockout,
but
Regan quickly promotes that Xerneas. He's just going to announce his Rainbow Force attack, make sure the damage is there. There's the handshake. Regan Retzloff is your 2017 North American International Champion. Congratulations to him. Excellent play.
Amazing job by Regan. He is going to be our champion of the junior division. Look at that sigh of relief there. He says,